Alrighty, folks, here we go. A little bit of a Trump update. He's in the news because he's a bad guy. Okay, no, he's in the news. Well, because he was indicted. Anyway, the criminal lawyer. This is Bruce CLR's video. Criminal lawyer explains Donald Trump's federal indictment, and I'm happy about it. I'm a little bit limited in my understanding of exactly what's going on. All I remember, because I haven't been too in tune with Donald Trump for a while, is that he got slammed for using campaign money to pay off like a lawsuit, which is apparently not good. That's illegal. And so, fundamentally speaking, I think that if he did a bad thing, he should be arrested and charged with it. I know, not a hot take, but I know that some people feel the president should have like a special treatment, and I just don't know that that's true. I mean, Trump always talked about the deep state and all this other stuff, and that would be part of it, right? Is the corruption that the president was able to engage in. And I know some people have debated like, well, but from optics perspective, this just looks like everything's confirmed. Trump has been pushing this conspiracy theory that like, you know, the deep state's out to get him. Doesn't this confirm that? And at the end of the day, sometimes it's not about optics. Sometimes it's about what the right thing to do is. And so it seems like the right thing to do would be to give this guy a stone cold stunner. So let's get this going.
He's got four major. I don't know how you. So he's got four major.
I like this new. I like what's going on with Bruce though. I think he's on vacation or something. So he's looking like a straight baller right now. You know, he's looking like a straight baller.
Major criminal cases. So here's the long and short of it. You've got a guy who is in all likelihood going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
You really think that? I feel like he's going to get out of it.
That's my guess.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's going to react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to an On the Road edition.
Oh, look, he's doing work on vacation. He must be doing a work trip. That's like a vague, weird joke, inside joke. Okay.
Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Here's the deal. I am in a hotel in, where the hell am I? Grand Cache. No, right. Alberta. That's where I am. I'm so tired. I've been riding all day. We rode from basically Banff this morning all the way to here, so it's about 180 miles or no, it's more like
listen,
300 miles.
I had a boss that used to drive from New York to Florida, I think it was, to do like a motorcycle thing, and like he got older and he just started driving his motorcycle down in a car. Like he would put it in like the trailer. But that's, I don't know, man, motorcycles are weird. I would never, too dangerous. I guess I'm not a real man. I'm a real afraid man, okay? I don't want to get hurted. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's just a little too much for me. I don't want to get nay-nayed, you know?
Tomorrow we're going to Fort Nelson, which is almost a 500-mile, 2-lane ride. So it's a big ride. Today I'm going to react on the road to the Trump indictment. Now, let me tell you something about the Trump indictment. I'm going to read it with you. This is the first time I've really had a chance to look at it. Remember what here's the hat right here. You guys, stop self-snitching. This is an absolute class masterclass.
I really got to get my merch together so I can start plugging it like that, you know?
On self-snitching. Donald Trump has just absolutely excoriated himself. So let's just get into it right away. And before I get into it, this is brought to you by ContractsCounsel.com. ContractsCounsel.com, it's a very easy way for you to have a lawyer look at any kind of contract that you need written. And here's the thing, to be honest with you, the reason why I'm doing this video is because they're a partner of eSign.com, and they have a lot of clients, but they don't have a lot of lawyers. So if you're a lawyer, and I know a lot of you lawyers are fans of the show, contact ContractsCounsel.com, and it's an easy way for you to get some legal work done from the comfort of your own home, and you'll be doing some good for a lot of good people.
Well, this is actually very beneficial for me as someone who doesn't, is not a lawyer.
So the indictment
Maybe I
charges
should have
Donald
been
Trump
one.
with 4 counts. Conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to just obstruct an official proceeding, and obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. I've never even heard of that one before.
Interesting.
Some of these things aren't always charged out. But this is huge. So it talks about the rights that the defendant has, meaning Donald Trump. Despite having lost and was determined to remain in power, so for more than 2 months following the election day on November 3rd, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election and that he had actually won. So that's kind of where this thing starts. Okay.
That's interesting. I didn't know that would be illegal. To So that's just interesting to me, regardless of the legality of it. For me, morally, it's just like you're just up being a pussy, you know. We've never seen a president like so pathetic to not take the L. You know, most of them are like, this stinks, but you know what? The American people voted, blah 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 blah, and they don't try to create some kind of division. And it makes me think, like, does Trump actually like think that he's a victim? I wonder if it's all like a grift or if he's actually that fucking delusional. I mean, it's a real question. I mean, either way, it's really toxic for him to say shit like that. But I truly wonder, like, if he actually believes that he is the victim of some conspiracy theory, you know? But I feel like he doesn't think that. I mean, people constantly go on about like, yes, you think that Joe Biden got like the most votes ever in American history? Joe Biden. It's like, yes, I do. Not because he's Joe Biden, but because we had COVID and we changed the parameters around voting. You used to only be able to vote for one day. Last election, you had the ability to vote any time of the week, right? It's always used to be just, we can only go vote on Tuesday. Now we can go all week, and you can do mail-in ballots because of COVID, because COVID was bad. Hot take, am I right? Apparently to some people, some fucking idiots. And so like that's why people voted a lot, because it's just more accessible. Like, who would have thought having something being more accessible, people do things more that are accessible. There's recordings of him talking to his cabinet admitting he knows he's lying. Is there really hopefully that's in this video. Where did you see that? Because that's not surprising, but like, holy shit. Okay.
The defendant had the right, like every American, to speak publicly about the election and to even claim falsely that there had been some outcome-determinative fraud during the election. He was also entitled to formally challenge the results of the election through lawful and appropriate means, such as seeking recounts or audits, blah, blah, blah. What he didn't have the right to do is some of the things that he talks about a little bit later in the indictment.
Okay.
So let's talk about count one, conspiracy to defraud the United States. The allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 4 of this indictment are, and here's the thing: once you get charged with this, now you're on conditional release. You know, he was on conditional release before, right? Because he's been indicted in New York, he's been indicted in Florida federally, he's going to get indicted in Georgia, and now he's indicted in DC on January 6th. So he's going to be on conditional release in 4 different jurisdictions.
Yeah, you know, it's because it's been a while since the January 6th shit, but I remember last time I looked into it, like, Trump effectively was calling for like a riot in America. He's playing into this huge like conspiracy like idea that he lost the election and everything, and he was I forget the specific messages, but like it was a call to like action, to like try to overthrow the government in some capacity. January 6th was wild, bro. So
that's insane. A sitting United States former president, well, not sitting, but a former United States president who's running for re-election, he's out on bail, basically. This president, and his supporters just absolutely adore him. And here's one of the biggest things that...
Yeah, they do, but I think that he's having fewer and fewer supporters as time goes on. You know, I know he's a really popular guy, but I think that his supporters like are getting fed up. He has a really strong like fucking psychopaths that are crazy and actually think that like he was the victim of, you know, whatever. But I think that you know, people are getting fed up with him in general, and so they're kind of disengaging with him a little bit. But the ones that are left are still fucking crazy, man. They're still fucking crazy.
That really bothers me. He's collected millions of dollars. I think upwards around $200 million in the Stop the Steal campaign.
Sure.
At least 40 million of that has gone to lawyers like me. And, wow. And it's not just for him. He's using it for other people in his circle.
Wait, is that legal? He's collecting money for the Stop the Steal? Well, I mean, I guess it would be, right? Because it's him trying to, in his logic, fight, you know, against lies or whatever bullshit.
So these people who think they're going to try to overturn the election by giving Donald Trump money, who is a billionaire, doesn't need your money, give me a break. But this is a very fascinating lesson in criminal law. The indictment in count 1 did knowingly conspire, confederate, and agree with co-conspirators, known and unknown to the grand jury, to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function by which the results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified by the government. Well, how would he have done that? How? The purpose of the conspiracy was to overturn the legitimate results of the 2020 presidential election. So the defendant enlisted co-conspirators. Co-conspirator 1, an attorney, that's probably Eastman, who was willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that the defendant 2020.
So like, like, how do they know that they are knowingly false? Like, they must have. I mean, they would have to have them on file making these claims, or excuse me, saying that they know it's false. I know you guys referenced the Donald Trump thing, but I imagine even this person would have to as well.
Election campaign attorneys would not. Co-conspirator number 2, an attorney who advised and attempted to implement a strategy to leverage the vice presidential ceremonial role. Oversee, that's probably Eastman, actually. Co-conspirator number 3, co-conspirator number 4, co-conspirator number 5. So basically, this is what they're saying. The real meat of this is in the manner and the means by which they defrauded the government. The defendant and the co-conspirators used knowingly false claims of election fraud to get state legislators and election officials to subvert legitimate election results and challenge electoral votes for the defendant's opponent, Joseph Biden. Electoral votes for the defendant. That is on the pretext of baseless fraud claims. The defendant pushed officials in certain states to ignore the popular vote, disenfranchise millions of voters, dismiss legitimate electors, and ultimately cause the ascertainment of and voting by illegitimate electors. So now, if you know anything about what happened in Michigan, there's a bunch of people who were fake electors. You know, they were going to supplant themselves, they filed fake certificates, and now they're charged in Michigan with this election fraud. And here's the thing, he's going to try to claim...
Wait, what is a fake elector? Is that somebody who like counts the votes? Is that what he's saying? That people were on Donald Trump's behalf, whether he explicitly told them to or not, were pretending to be electors? Or is that what he's saying? Or am I just a fucking idiot? Am I just an old boomer?
That he advice of counsel. He's going to try to claim that he legitimately thought that that the election was stolen. And, if you go to paragraph 11 of the indictment, the defendant's vice president, who personally stood to gain by remaining in office as part of the defendant's ticket, and whom the defendant asked to study fraud allegations, told the defendant that he had seen no evidence of outcome-determinative fraud. In other words, if there was any fraud, there wasn't enough to overturn the election.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be small cases that aren't going to have any impact, like on both sides in some capacity, probably more oversights than anything else. But there's no like widespread fraud that would have like a profoundly negative impact. That would be able to shift the flow of the election, right?
Senior leaders of the Justice Department appointed by the defendant and responsible for investigating credible allegations of election crimes told the defendant on multiple occasions that various allegations of fraud were unsupported. The director of national intelligence, the defendant's
his own VP, dude, is part of the deep state.
Disabused the defendant of the notion of the intelligence community findings regarding foreign interference that would change the outcome of the election. The Department of Homeland Security, senior White House attorneys, senior staff, state legislators, officials, state and federal courts. So in other words, he's getting all this information from everywhere. And what he does is he goes and cherry picks a particular lawyer who's willing to do his bidding. You can't do that.
Is that Giuliani?
You can't say, well, so-and-so told me that that it's legitimate. So, and then all of a sudden you have all these other people.
Well, I mean, the real question is why not? Like, to me, if he believes it, you're allowed to be fucking stupid. It's legal to be a fucking idiot, right? So, like, if he actually does believe it, is that illegal? I mean, if he doesn't believe it and he knows he's like inciting fucking riots based on nothing, then like I get that. Well, you shouldn't incite a riot in general, so I get that. But aren't you allowed to be stupid? Isn't that that's the American dream, right? You're just allowed to be fucking dumb and think something even though it's not true, right? That's what I thought.
People telling you that it's illegitimate. So here's the long and short of it. You've got a guy who is in all likelihood going to spend the rest of his life in prison.
You really think so?
That's
I mean, fuck him. Go for it.
I've been wrong before. I was wrong on the Milley trial, but I really wasn't wrong on the Milley trial because it was 9-3 guilty, and I think that was an aberration. When they retry it, he's going to be found guilty, I'm guessing. But here's the thing with Donald Trump.
He's handsome.
He's got the Mar-a-Lago case, the government document case. He is, and that case is set for trial, I think, in May. They just gave us. They recently issued a superseding indictment. A superseding indictment is an indictment that contains either new counts or new defendants, and in this case, they contain both. And so with the import of those new, and that's May of 2024. And guess what's going on during May of 2024? The election and the primary. And so what's going to happen is, I think they're going to get a new trial date, and that's going to bump right into the fucking election, and then it's going to have to happen after the election. That is my guess. So, come October,
so is he saying they're going to try to bump it so that he can potentially run for president? I mean, there's no way he would win, but apparently I saw a poll that he's favored more than Ron DeSantis, which I guess I'm not surprised about, but I guess just being an asshole to him, saying just wild shit about Ron DeSantis is working in his favor. Some out-of-pocket shit.
He's going to have a trial by the Attorney General of New York. They're seeking $250 million for tax fraud. He's going to have a trial with E. Jean Carroll, on a defamation case, and that's kind of a who gives a shit because, and I don't mean that you shouldn't care about her, but in terms of
what's crazy is like I feel like it's gonna be annoying, but like as we move forward more and more when it comes to like the shit going on, like the trans and panic and everything that conservatives are engaging in, like I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have I'm not gonna want to, but I'm probably gonna end up like I don't know having like issues with maybe my own mother or something or somebody that potentially votes conservative. Because here's the thing, I know that like people voted for Trump in whenever was it 2016. I got it. At that time, I don't think that most people were like, racist or anything. I think a lot of people were getting frustrated with the system and they were looking for somebody they considered an outsider. Trump represented that, when it came down to like losing jobs because of we were focusing on, being better for the environment. Trump was like, oh, I'll get the jobs back. And he did. Some of them, right? He cut a lot of those regulations, which wasn't a good thing. But like, I get that. People are just frustrated and they feel like they can't make a living. But now, like, what the fuck is what is anybody platforming on? It's all just like hating gay and trans people. It's like, fuck. Like, how do you, in good conscience, vote for a Republican like Ron DeSantis that like literally just doesn't like? I mean, like. They investigated a teacher over playing a Disney movie. Like that's insane to me. That's just nut bars, So
legal woes that he is looking at. That's kind of he didn't even show up for that trial. I mean, that shows you how much he really gives a shit about that. And he's not gonna ever pay her $1.
Oh, thanks for
but then you've got the New York indictment that's supposed to go in December. He's gonna get indicted by Fonnie Willis in Georgia. He just has so much. I don't know how so he's got 4 major criminal cases. Not to mention a couple nuisance civil cases. The Attorney General's case is not a nuisance. That's a big case. If he's found guilty of this stuff, and he's the top dog, how many prosecutions have they done in this case? For the January 6th crowd. How many?
I don't know.
Over 1,000.
Whoa.
Over 1,000 prosecutions. And
who's Michael? I'm just gonna rewind that.
Over 1,000 prosecutions.
Fun fact: when Michael was working at the Federal Defender's Office, he helped with some appearances of the J6 Defenders. Wow.
And how many have you lost?
Right. You know what's really fucked up about the whole January 6th thing? I remember there were police officers that were like, "Yo, we have PTSD from like people." Like raiding us and like attacking us, and the conservatives like laughed at them. It's like support the police until they say something you don't like. Am I right?
I think maybe you lost one.
Can we all vote for third party? It wouldn't be effective, unfortunately. We would have to do something that would like implement like a more credible third party. Because only having 2 parties is not good for like the United States, or it's not good for anybody. It's only 2 people to vote for. Like there's not enough competition. Because, like, even Democrats aren't the most amazing people in the world. Like, it's not the greatest to vote for. It just happens to be, like, a little bit better. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where that's part of the problem, too, is, like, not having enough choice is a bit of an issue as well. So, yeah, it's part of the problem, too. These kids suck.
The federal government has
I'm doing the most damage and healing on my team. That's fucking awesome.
Extremely good record. And Jack Smith.
Oh, he's got strong.
You read that indictment yourself. And Jack Smith has absolutely tied up any defense that he might have. So this has just been our reaction to the news that Trump is now indicted on a major January 6th case. So, and to give you a hint on what I'm doing.
Hey,
I'm
no problem.
actually doing some work while I'm on the road. I'm in my hotel room in where the hell am I?
What hotel?
Grand Cache.
Bruce. Tell me which one so I can show up.
So tomorrow we'll be in British Columbia. British Columbia, and we'll be in Fort Nelson. So which puts us up.
I don't think both parties are terrible. I think that there are issues in the Democratic Party with like rich people still taking advantage of like bullshit tax laws and still protecting other rich people. The Democratic Party is better though. There is more diversity of opinion in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. The Republican Party is mostly just like being super like hateful and transphobic and whatnot. There's really no other platform. You'll see a lot more diversity in the Democratic Party, though. Like in general, like all the elections, you see a lot more diversity. You're basically voting for the same person as a Republican, in my opinion. When it comes to progressives, there's like a lot more like choice and like I said, diversity. It's just like I would just say it was a little bit better in general. So, you know, overall, that's what I have to say.
About the halfway mark to Fairbanks, Alaska. So that's where we're headed. And you know, today we started out in Banff, and you know, I think we posted some stuff on Instagram, and started out with 7. 2 of the guys went home because they were only going to take part of the journey, but the other 5 are just amazing guys, and this is on my buddy Kirk's bucket list. So, and you can see the beard's coming in nicely. You know, this is kind of crazy. And I haven't had my hair cut in about 5 weeks. No, 6 weeks. So I'll have a 2-month no haircut, no shave, and I wouldn't mind. I put a little beard butter on it to soften it up. That doesn't seem to help too much. It itches a little bit. But.
Yeah, I just shaved my beard, trimmed it down, looked pretty sexy. I think I don't put anything in my beard except from the times when I'm jerking off. It's like a fucking missile. It's like, you know, it's crazy.
It is what it is. I get a lot of great comments, and let me just tell you something, guys. I read a ton of your comments. I can't read them all, but I try to respond to quite a few of them. I love you guys. You guys are just so nice to me, and nice to Michael, our content genius, who's not here. That's the way we have this quality that you see. There's just me and a camera, and so Michael, I'm gonna hopefully upload this, and Michael's gonna edit it and maybe make it look a little better. But this is what we got going on. So we appreciate everything you guys say and suggestions, and we try to get to them. And I'll just tell you, you guys really support us, and can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter.
Always.
And watch for me on the road. Watch it on
Always.
Instagram, because that's where I'll be posting my progress. So love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you too. All right, cool video.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Mm-hmm. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Yeah. See, as president, I could have did less about it. Now I can't, you know, but this is classic.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
What it appears to be is the tape that's described in the indictment. The evidence that helped lay the groundwork for special counsel Jack Smith to indict Donald Trump.
Okay, so him using like classified documents. Okay, is that what you're referring to, or is it? Oh, this is what you're referring to. Yeah. Okay. So updated 9:13 p.m. An angry President Trump pushed Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Okay, we're adding something new to the spectrum. All right, but it's Raffensperger. Incredible. A fellow Republican to overturn the state presidential election result and appeared to at least partly blame this guy for what could be a lower turnout in Tuesday's runoff elections, which will decide the control of the United States Senate, according to a recording of a phone call obtained in Georgia. The people of Georgia know that this was a scam, and because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote in the runoffs. Trump said in the remarkable Saturday call, a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Well, that's not him admitting that he was scamming, that he's saying that and he's wrong, but he's saying that a lot of the people of Georgia know this was a scam, and because of what you've done to the president. Wait, what is he referring to as this was a scam? Oh, is he saying that like he knows that like Donald Trump was scamming? What's the context of this? The people of Georgia know that this, what is this referring to? He added, you would be respected if this thing could be straightened out before the election. Trump lost the state by nearly 12,000 votes. That's him trying to say, like, you should. I don't know if what he's referring to is this. He might be saying he actually thinks it's a scam that he lost, or he might be saying that people are now knowing that I was a scam, that I was trying to scam them. This here, though, is like, you'd be respected if this thing could be straightened out before the election. That's Trump. That's Trump trying to, like, what is it, like extort or not blackmail, but, you know, it's like bribe to an extent. Like, hey, if you could turn this vote around, like, you know, you'd be respected. So more than 3 million Georgians have already voted in the January. How old is this? Whatever. Let's just read through it. January 5th runoffs, which Pitt incumbent Republican Senator David Perd against Democrat John Ossoff incumbent. Okay. Ahead of Tuesday's advance, they're not laggy. The Republicans part of Trump suggested his was responsible for the drop in GOP enthusiasm, while the Secretary of State said the White House and state lawmakers spreading misinformation is to blame. Okay. Sunday morning, Trump rallied against Ravensburg on social media, retweeting the baseless claims of election fraud and stating that Georgia official was unwilling or unable to answer questions about alleged election problems in the state. But the audio recording of the hour-long call details that Raffensperger and representatives of the Secretary of State's office continue to patiently knock down some of the more inflammatory claims by Trump and other top Republicans who allege hundreds of thousands of votes were illegally counted. Well, Mr. President, the challenge... It's so crazy that like his own Republican Party is like, no, this didn't happen. I mean, like, what else do you really need to believe it? Mr. President, the challenge that you have in the data here is you're wrong. He pointed out we have to stand by our numbers. Okay. Mark Meadows, Trump chief. Okay. Yeah, this is... I thought you were going to send me something that was going to explicitly say that Trump knew he was scamming people. This is Georgia officials correcting Trump's claim on out-of-state voters, which is obviously bullshit. All I want to do is I just want to find the votes, which is more than we have because we won the state. That could be a suggestion that like he's looking for them to fudge votes, but he has the plausible deniability of being like, I want you to find them because I know that they're there, Georgia officials dispute false claims of shredded ballots. I don't even know why you have a side because you should want to have an accurate election and you're Republican. Yeah, okay. So it's more... I feel like he has a lot of plausible deniability language. Trump attacks Georgia governor over election loss. Everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out, Trump said, and the real truth is I won by over 400,000 votes at least. That's the real truth. I mean, again, I want to see if he actually believes what he's saying.